Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, 17-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver, as voted by their customers. How you doing, Bernie?
Doing very well.
So we're going to talk about a 96 Chevy 1500 series pickup truck. What was going on with this truck?
Well, the vehicle was towed to our shop with a no start condition. The engine was cranking over fine, but it wouldn't start. So that's what was going on with the vehicle. Basically when we have a vehicle like that, obviously diagnosis is the first thing to do is, well, what's going on with it? And there's really three things that will cause the vehicle not to start. If it's cranking over, either the engine compression is bad, the ignition system isn't working, or the fuel system is not working. In this case, what we found is the fuel pressure was very low, not sufficient to have the engine start.
So what type of fuel injection do these trucks use?
Well, these GMs of this vintage, they used it throughout most of the 90s. It's called a Vortec fuel injection system. GM used it on V8s and V6 engines in their trucks. And to be honest, it wasn't GM's best system. Anyways, the fuel pumps required to generate quite a lot of pressure to get the fuel system to operate. And yeah, so that's part of it. The way the fuel injection system works, just to give a few details, the actual fuel injectors are actually located inside the intake manifold. So there's when you look at the engine, it's got this big fat intake manifold that actually comes apart in two pieces, and inside this is a V8 engine, so all the 8 fuel injectors are inside. There's a central electronic control unit that operates the fuel injectors. There's a fuel pressure regulator all inside the intake manifold, and the fuel lines basically just go in and out through the top. So there's a big wiring connector in the fuel lines, all hidden away, real nice, easy to manufacture, but there's a lot of problems that happen with this system. So I'll just share a couple of photos here. Here's our truck here, real nice old nice truck, low rider, really good condition. So again, 1996, it's getting to be a 20-year-old truck. Is it worth it? Of course, it's a beautiful truck. It's well taken care of and a nice vehicle just get our other photo up here. So here's our fuel pump. This is basically a complete fuel assembly unit. You remove it. This is the part that sits into the fuel tank right here. It mounts in the fuel tank. And yeah, so the pump is in the fuel tank. Here's the pump right here. That's the section right here. I mean, really, you could just get away with changing just that piece and the strainer here, which sort of pre-filters the fuel. But they sell it as an assembly. And the good news is you get a new gas tank sending unit. That's this thing here, this yellowish object. This is actually a float, kind of like a float in your toilet bowl. It moves up and down with the amount of fuel. There's a little rheostat here, and that sends a voltage signal to the fuel gauge, and that's how you know how much fuel you have in your tank. So again, when you do this kind of replacement, you're actually getting all these parts, which is kind of nice because these pieces fail too. And then you have your fuel lines here. You can see some gas is leaked out. There's a fuel inlet, a fuel return line, and then there's some pipes here for the evap system, which basically captures the gas fumes from getting out.
So is this a fairly reliable fuel injection system?
No, it's not. As I was mentioning, there are problems with it. There's been a lot of issues with them. Injectors will fail. The other big problem that happens too, because the fuel pressure regulator is located inside the intake manifold, it can actually start leaking fuel when it fails, and it'll start causing excessively rich mixture, especially into the rear cylinders where it's located, because the fuel will actually start pouring, this extra fuel is leaking out, will actually start pouring into the cylinders. So it fails. And just the injectors were just not very reliable in the way they work. The problem with putting it inside the intake manifold is you've got all the blow-by gases. The PCV system sucks the crankcase gases in, and they create this horrible sludge, and it's a really toxic, harsh environment. So it wasn't the best idea. There's a replacement system available that actually makes each injector electronically controlled. And so instead of having the central unit that controls the injectors, it's still inside the manifold, but it has each injector is electronically controlled, kind of like the more modern systems are, and that definitely works better. Though I have to say, the first time we ever replaced one of those, we bought one, we put it in, and actually the unit failed right away. So I'm not sure about this, but the second one worked, and the car's been running forever. But just every once in a while, you get a bad part. It was kind of not a great time to get a bad part in the very first replacement.
So 21 years old vehicle. What does GM use now?
So beginning in the early 2000s, GM they redesigned their engines. They got away from this Vortec fuel injection system, and they basically put individual, port fuel injection, individual injector, out externally mounted, like almost everyone else, and very reliable. I mean, I've had a 2001 Suburban since 2006. Like nothing's gone wrong with it. Just bulletproof, reliable, amazing truck. So I would, that system works really well. We work on a lot of Chevy trucks. Nothing ever goes wrong with the fuel system. So there was a really good upgrade doing that. I mean, speaking of like Chevy trucks, I speak pretty highly of them. But really, when they hit about the 2000 model year, that's when they started building them really well. Prior to that, a lot of the Chevy trucks were definitely on the weaker side. With this Vortec fuel system was problematic. A lot of the brakes were way undersized on them, and you might. Some trucks, 20 or 30,000 kilometers, it would be all you get out of a set of brakes. And sometimes even less if you're hauling heavy loads. But on the newer ones, the brakes will last 100,000 kilometers even with heavy loads. So they really upped the size of the truck and really built it well starting around 2000.
And how about these 96 vintage? How are they for reliability?
Well, again, they're kind of in that category. They've got this Vortec fuel system, which is problematic, and the brakes are smaller, so they're not as reliable. They're definitely the 90s were not really the best years for GM trucks. I mean, you saw the picture of the truck; it's a beautiful truck, and I can't fault someone for owning it and taking care of it. And it just needs more work than a newer model, which is, I guess, good for us.
There you go. If you have a Chevy or GM vehicle that needs some repair or maintenance in Vancouver, the guys to call are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book ahead. If they're busy, you gotta book ahead. Or check out our website, pawlikautomotive.com, or our YouTube channel. We've got hundreds of videos. Just search for Pawlik Automotive on YouTube. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.